Hi all. I just want to do a video about blockchain. You can see here I have it titled Blockchain Beginners Basic Overview for Developers. So I'm going to kinda focus on the programming end, but with these beginner videos we'll kind of just do like an overall what it is, a few good things that I've bumped into. I'm no expert on this topic. I just wanted to put this video out there to help other beginners save time. I know what I've gone through trying to find this information, and it's out there. There's good information out there, but sometimes it's kind of hard to find. I uploaded this text file here to my website. If you go to this link, you'll be able to check it out and download it. It's not really necessary, but it might help you find some of the links. See, if I open my browser here, here's that link, and right here's that text file. If you just right click it and go open, it opens up that text file. Or you can right click and go save as, and you can download that file to your desktop. The only reason that would be necessary, it would just save you some typing on the links. I've not done a thorough study into every link that I have in this file, but I'm just listing them for your reference. When I first thought about doing this video, I was going to make it short, 5-10 minutes, and as I got into it, I kept adding more and more and more, and it's like, well, I got to say something about this, I got to say something about that. And what I discovered was it turned out to just be a big text file of links. So I ended up cutting a lot of those out, and I only left the really good ones. So I was going to start with a Solidity programming video, but I'm thinking that some people may not have even heard of that. So that's why I figured I'd start with this, a basic blockchain for beginners. There's a lot of good beginner stuff out there, but it's really high level beginner stuff. I want to bring it down to a real low level that even a total beginner can understand. I do have this video here. It's titled, What Programming Language Should You Learn? That was, I think I made that video about 2 years ago, long before I heard about blockchain and all these other things. But I think it still applies. If you want to get into programming in general, you should start with C and then C++. Of course, that may take a couple years just to get those down, before you move into the other languages that you might use here. So, okay, I broke this into short answer and long answer. Just to skim through this file real quick, you can see I have a few things here. Got 8 points for the short answer. Then we get into the long answer. And this goes on, I think there's like 25 items here. You can see 28 items. So for this video, you don't really need any programming language for this one. It would be nice, but we all start somewhere. We all start at the very beginning. So after this video, I want to do a beginner series of programming videos for blockchain. And most likely we'll start with Solidity programming. I know up here for this here I said start with C, C++, but that's for if you want to do regular programming. For blockchain programming, it looks to me right now that Solidity will probably be the programming language of choice, and take that with a grain of salt. I've only been looking at this stuff for a short time, but from what I can see now, that's probably where it's going to be at. And there's a lot of good Solidity programming videos out there, but they get right into blockchain programming, and they don't seem to cover the basics of programming. So what do I mean there? Like, let's say I was doing car repair videos. They jump right in and show you how to change an alternator, right? They presume you know what to do with a crescent wrench, you know how to use a screwdriver, you know how to change a fan belt. They presume you already know how to do all that stuff. Same here. They presume you already know the basics of programming. You know what a variable is, you know what a for loop is, and things like that. Where when we do the beginner videos, we'll start from the very beginning. Sure, it'll take a while to get into the more blockchain programming items. First we have to cover the basics of how to write a program and things like that. We'll do it in Solidity, but before we can actually start programming for blockchain, we'll do the basic. So I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that's what I'm thinking. Okay, so up top here, I named this for developers. So, like I said earlier, it looks like Solidity is going to be the main one, and we'll go into detail what that is a few steps down. But blockchain programming, real simply, it's based on contracts. A contract is kind of like a class. It is object-oriented programming, from what I can tell. Like I said, I've only been looking at this for a short time, and most things I've seen, it is based on object-oriented programming. Some things, some videos have stated things like scripts, so maybe they're confusing the terms. I'm not really sure yet. So, but blockchain programming is based on this contract. Just kind of think of that word as class. If you know C++ or Java, that would be class. Instead of putting class here, they put contract. That's the name of the contract. Opening brace, closing brace, and your code would go in here, right? So blockchain is more of a coding technique, like linked list. So if you're a programmer thinking, well, how do I get into this blockchain stuff? A good place to start would be go back to your books that talk about linked list and make sure you understand that stuff. I think blockchain programming can be done in many different languages. I've seen articles in Java, C#. I think Go is a popular one. We'll talk about that later on. We already talked about this one. So apps are built using the blockchain techniques. The apps are things like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. And I'm not going to turn this into a Bitcoin video, but it is like the basics of everything that has to do with blockchain, and we'll talk more about that. Okay, so a cryptocurrency, that's just one type of app that they create in the blockchain programming world. Lots of videos, lots of books. They talk about many different types of apps, though. It can be used in all types of businesses. A common phrase you'll see there is, what's the use case? What's the use case? Meaning, how would a medical business use blockchain? What's the use case? How would an automotive factory use blockchain? What's the use case? So that's a common topic now, because I think some people are struggling trying to figure out, okay, I know how to write these programs, what do I do with it? Okay. Okay, so this is a short answer, right? So there's a website called Remix. Remix has a website which is an IDE for programming, and it's a free Solidity compiler. Okay, so if you go to this website here, it starts you out with this generic contract just to give you something to look at. And then if you're used to Visual Studio, it kind of works the same. Your files go over here. A Solidity file is .sol, and then you use this area here. You have these tabs here to compile and run the application, and we'll get more into that later on. This is meant as a beginner tutorial IDE, so you don't have to worry about breaking anything or affecting something that you don't want to be affecting. You aren't actually posting things to blockchain or Bitcoin or anything like that, so you're free to fool around in here as much as you want. Okay, so here would be an example program. If you're used to some of the programs, the scripting programs for the web, it usually starts out with some line at the top to say what type of script this is. So this is saying this is a Solidity file, use version 4, and then this is kind of odd, or anything newer. Okay, you don't have to have that caret there. That's called a caret. Sometimes they call it a hat. So that's not absolutely necessary, but you'll see it in most Solidity files. Version 4 or higher. Okay, here's the contract. This opens the contract. This closes the contract. Here's the contract name. We have two functions inside of the contract. We have a set function, we have a get function. We have one variable inside the contract. It's an integer. The name is my data. Okay. So let's see, we can take this and just copy it. Go back over here and see, we can just do a select all, paste this in. So now we have our code inside here. Same file name is fine. You don't have to mess with that. If you want to, you could delete that file and create another one. And then if you want, let's see here, we could go to settings and we can choose a compiler. See, they have all the old ones listed here. Sometimes you might have to mess around with this to get your code to work. Like, let's see, we'll find version 4 here. 4.0. Okay, let's see if it'll compile with that one. It should, because we have 4 here. And then we'll come back to the compile. And we can press this guy here to compile it. So it looks like it compiled here. Then we go to the Run tab. Now it's not down here yet, so we click Create to actually run it. And then here's our two functions down here, set and get. Here's our set function, and here's our get function. Okay, see how we didn't give this variable a number, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we can do is click in here and we'll say create my variable as number 11. You can put in any number you want. Click set. And now if we click get, it goes out, it gets the number and prints it out here. Okay, so here's the 11 down here. So that's the basics of how to use this guy here. This gas stuff here, you don't have to worry about that now. That's just what they did. Was when you run a Solidity program, it uses gas. That's kind of like a money thing. And they put a money value on it to prevent DOS attacks, denial of service attacks. You know, you can't run your code a million times because it's going to use a lot of gas. So that was the reason behind this stuff here. But just for testing it inside here, you don't have to worry about that. Okay, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. Okay, so that's the basics of that. And that should pretty much well get you going, so you can start glancing through some of the code. There's an O'Reilly book.